for something like that split pusher that Swiffer was telling us about.
Yeah, I think Swiffer's on the money with the Trundle and Fiora type of matchup. At the very least, the Fiora will be seen in some capacity, whether picked or banned, picked by Tainted Minds or banned by Legacy. Minkuel does have the inclination to the Troll.
Well, we'll see whether he's going to be able to get it, as Nidalee is going to be the first ban here, as Tainted Minds will be on our blue side. Priority pick now available for this team. We'll see whether they can get anything powerful, but Legacy take a while, but they do find the Fiora.
Yeah, so they look to ban that one away. And at the end of the day, it's the first time we're seeing Praedyth, and I think it's really good of them to challenge him now on the big stage by taking away his most comfortable champion, because when you are on a big stage, usually you revert to comfort.
Yeah, and I actually really like it, you know, giving him some priority on his birthday. I think it's, you know, it's cute.
Happy birthday, banned your champion.
Yeah, exactly. Have a great time, as Swain is going to be the second ban here for Tainted Minds, so a bit of a top lane focus now as Fiora and Swain have both left, but Swain a bit of a multifaceted ban, with the mid lane definitely being there and Choo-Choo's being slightly inclined to the Birdman.
Yeah, so Legacy can look, I was about to say, towards the bottom lane, because as the desk also alluded towards, that is the strong point of these teams.
Yeah.
And perhaps with just the Fiora being banned from Praedyth, they have enough strength now to get rid of one of the target bans from the bottom lane, keeping in mind that Ryze and Vladimir still stand on Summoner's Rift. And essentially Legacy now have to choose dependent on what Tainted Minds do.
Yeah, not to mention things like the Rek'Sai and stuff like that. Vladimir is going to leave, so like you said, definitely a power pick. Not going to be seen this time around, as Omni thinking about getting his hands on a Ryze pick if Legacy do decide to stick with targeted bans.
And that's an unusual ban, the Vladimir on blue side of the map. Usually red side is forced into banning it. It means that either Omni or Praedyth can't play the champion firstly, they're too scared of Legacy playing it, or they wanted to force a Ryze ban on the flip side so that they get a first pick in particular.
Well, the first pick is going to be the Trundle, so picking it away from Minkuel. Of course, Minkuel being a Legacy Trundle player from a very long time, both on the team and just as the word Legacy and what it actually means. Now, speaking of which, see what they decide to pick in answer to it. And that is those are some power picks in the Karma and the Rek'Sai.
Yeah, it almost forces the Sivir to be picked in response on the flip side of Tainted Minds, and Lost won't want that, so we'll see how they respond. Karma and Rek'Sai, probably the strongest champions in their position, taking into account the Bard ban that are left standing. Nidalee is not there, so Kindred would be the immediate assumption. For Zahi on the flip side, that or the Graves. We'll see where he wants to go towards.
We've been seeing a little bit of Lee Sin internationally as well.
We have.
Let's see whether Zahi decides to go back to his roots, but
it doesn't really play to hiding him.
It's a very, very good point. And just the Karma and Rek'Sai as well, so incredibly flexible here from Legacy. So Tainted Minds still don't necessarily know what Legacy are trying to build towards, apart from just being able to move fast and have a lot of objective control.
Well, they haven't revealed their hand in anything at all. They've got a bit of engage, bit of disengage, bit of tankiness. Yeah, well-rounded as a first two pick option.
Well, see what Tainted Minds decide to go with. 5 seconds to go. Still haven't hovered anything just yet, as the Victor being looked at by Omni. Zahi, Sivir is going to be locked in, so exactly like you said, Lost being forced to get into that engaged position, give Trundle an ability to get to that back line.
Yeah, just taking away the power pushing lane of a Sivir and a Karma is kind of what they look towards. It has the spell shield, which is nice into the Karma anyway.
Yeah.
And now there's matching move speed. The ultimate and the Karma's enchanted speed boost that comes out of the shield. I quite like it, and I do feel like it was out of necessity, however, based off what Legacy picked. And this drafting phase is starting to become this unfurling of ban from you, pick from you, and back and forth in that direction. Keeping in mind that Praedyth is playing the Trundle that was assumed to be on Minkuel because the Fiora was banned, so that's a denial. The Sivir pick, sort of a denial given that the Karma was locked in. And the Victor, whilst Omni can play it, and I like that he's gone for that in particular, almost a denial from Choo-Choo's as well. Yeah, we heard from Froskerin on the desk saying that Choo-Choo's has looked arguably his best on that Victor so far. Has been definitely a powerhouse in lane, if anything else, but now going to head towards the Birdman as Minkuel. My God, this is a blast from the past. Him on the Aurelia. Of course, Aurelia massive and better at the moment, but it's been a while since we've seen Minkuel play it. Yeah, Minky on the carry top lane and knows he's against the Trundle. Chooses the matchup. We'll see how he plays this one out, honestly, because there is a lot of the contentious information right now on Summoner's Rift. Praedyth, new top laner, has a lot of mechanics, going to be a very strong individual player. Minky's a team player, he's a team fighter. Can he actually get to the team fights, and can he do it on Aurelia? And if we think back to like 2014, stuff like that, Minkuel was almost always that split pushing threat. Things like Jax, things like the Shyvana. So he could possibly just think back into the history books, get back in there, and we'll see whether Tainted Minds actually decide to put possibly the Trundle into the bottom lane maybe, and answer carry for carry. It's Rosie.
Yeah.
I was going to suggest perhaps the Zyra, but I'd be surprised given that it's against a Karma.
I wouldn't.
And not knowing the AD carry, there'd be a fair bit of burst, and Legacy could just respond with an Ezreal now and have a very hard-to-kill bottom lane.
Well, I love it. Throw the gauntlet. But King, of course, more than happy to go back to the Ezreal. Lucian available as well. Caitlyn, all sorts of different options. If Legacy would like to go there.
I think the Caitlyn would still be risky, given what he is against in laning phase. Being the Sivir that was notorious, even historically, as the counter pick to the Caitlyn. You just stand on the cupcakes and you get a free cupcake and a spell shield.
I know.
So you have an endless pool of mana, which means that Caitlyn, one of the champions that wants to manipulate minions, is always pushed in.
Yeah, not to mention you can always sort of break through that wall of Caitlyn traps by just wandering on them in the mid-game and late game when they're trying to set up that siege. Do like it.
Ezreal makes a lot of sense here. I'd be surprised if they changed from it. Perhaps something with equal amounts of mobility. Lucian too low range, perhaps, as well. Twitch be too volatile to dying.
Well, so far Legacy have definitely put themselves together a pretty solid lineup. And if this Ezreal is indeed going to be locked in, he's going to be in that bottom lane quite powerful, especially, you know, very, very early.
Yeah, Legacy now completing their team composition. Their engage is probably the biggest lackluster tool, which means Legacy are going to have to be working the map quite nicely to get themselves to any late game stage. On the flip side, I think Rosie, not necessarily an engage tool, but couple that with Zahi and they have a bit of pick in their back pocket, and complementary crowd control from Omni and Praedyth is able to help them out nicely, and the go button from Lost. So engage honestly lacking from both teams to an extent. Both kind of want you to run towards them to really be at a point of power.
Does it feel like both teams are then just looking for that split push, looking to make sure that they can get something like, you know, this Troll to be massive or Minkuel and the Aurelia?
Yes, but you have to remember that looking at the tanks that Tainted Minds have right now, the answer is with a split pushing Praedyth, they have 0.
That's a good
point.
point.
Are very volatile. They could die really quickly if they're ever caught out of position, and given the Karma, that's entirely possible. So yes, I think a lot of priority lies in the split pushing right now, the 4-on-1, whereas the 4 is going to be delicate for both of these teams.
Yeah, and we'll see whether Tainted Minds can actually get themselves there, because of course we've spoken about the fact that Legacy have got so much experience now with Minkuel back there towards the top side of the map. Things looking a whole lot better for this team as far as getting that mind in amongst it. Kulo, of course, did his best, but he's not Minkuel. He doesn't have that synergy with the team. But ladies and gentlemen, we want to hear from you. If you agree with Proskeren on the desk, use that hashtag TMWin. Let us know that Tainted Minds will be able to take the series, or if you're part of the Legacy Legion, use that hashtag LGC win. Try and push them for that revenge win after the loss to Avant last week. See whether they can actually pull it through.
Yeah, I guess the big question to me is, can the bottom lane of Tainted Minds actually maintain composure, find themselves an early lead, or get to that team fighting stage? Or can the early pressure of Choo-Choo's and Cub and the dynamic duo force Zahi and Omni to hold hands and put them in a predicament they don't wish to be in?
Yeah, and as we hop onto the Rift, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a look at the Keystone Masteries straight up. Not looking like there's too much out of the ordinary just yet. Fura Battle on Minkuel makes a heck of a lot of sense. Things like Warlords, Bloodlust 4 Lost as well. No real surprises, Rusty.
Sivir always runs that Warlords. Thunderlords for Rosie, a bit of early laning pressure, and those plants help out a fair bit with that. As yep, absolutely. I think across the board is entirely standard. Junglers choosing to be tanks with their keystones.
Yeah.
And that's my first question, because we alluded towards the 4-men being quite weak, honestly. Tainted Minds in the way of tankiness. Carbon's always going to be a tank. What does Zahi build? Does he prioritize the Runic Echoes into Rylai's, I would assume?
Yeah.
To try and be at least appearing tanky?
Yeah, and we've of course seen a fair few, I guess, international Elises building a little bit more damage as well, even often going that third item Abyssal Scepter. We'll see whether Zahi can actually turn himself into somewhat of a, you know, pick threat around the later stages of the game. But of course, they have to get there first. And going back to what Swiffer was saying on the desk, do you think the Tainted Minds have set themselves up for lanes that can just go even?
I think mid lane's definitely a diffusal lane. The Sivir helps. The Zyra is somewhat susceptible to having a bad time in lane, or a great time in lane, so it's very dependent, and based off their movements right now, you can see why.
Well, you can see Rosie exactly setting up for this lane swap. There's the Q, tried to get himself that little Krog, but I guess he's not going to be doing it.
He's not done, so they should actually walk all the way out. Rosie would ensure they go past the Raptors and don't take a cheeky extra camp. Or they're playing on the vision. There we go, yeah, run away.
Yeah, so Ward is going to go down. Rosie makes sure he secures the top side of the jungle. Actually scatters himself some seeds through it as well. God, I love new.
And
Zara.
Tainted Minds, they knew they were putting the lane swap into effect through their jungle position, so Zahi starts with the red buff and actually takes the major camp. Gets that health regeneration so that his clear is a little bit more healthy, whereas Legacy don't get theirs. Now they have to stick on the bottom side of the map. Will still be a standard lane swap, just one major buff missing.
Yeah, and we'll see whether Zahi can actually get around there and possibly put pressure on, you know, their strongest side of the map and take away that red buff for that possible 3-buff start. Carbon probably not going to be too worried, but see whether it can actually come out.
Well, he can't really go to that side of the map anymore, Carbon, because there is the lane swap. So strength in side lanes is definitely there for Zahi to just walk over and get it.
Yeah, Omni as well. Wave pushing towards him. Choo-Choo's pretty aggressive, and like we were saying, Zahi going to head in, grab himself his 3rd buff of the game. So far, the lane swap actually working out quite well here for Tainted Minds. Kratos is going to be munching on his turret. You can see the wave clear of this bottom lane, actually quite high.
Yeah, absolutely. Between a Sivir Zyra, they've got plenty of wave clear, and it's important when playing against the Karma that you possess some kind of it at the very least, so that you can match them and you don't get stuck under the turret.
Yeah. I actually like the idea out of Tainted Minds. I mean, it's been said quite a lot. You know, Aurelia relatively dependent on items. See whether MinkyWell can get himself back into a decent position. But how do you think that fares for this sort of top lane matchup after this is all said and done?
The top lane matchup will even out at about the level 3 point, where I'd say MinkyWell is about even with Kratos. The level 1 strength that a Trundle has can always be a little bit frustrating with that munch.
Oh, he's almost dead to the turret. However, won't fall down. Grabs himself an extra minion wave there as well, but does it before the turret falls down. A little bit cute.
And smartly recalls. He was going to be way too low if someone even looked at him funny between King and Cood, and he would have died. They can't do what Minky did, and that was hang around a little bit longer, simply due to tanking the turret and losing a bit of health bar.
Yeah, actually grabs himself an extra 4 CS there as well, before MinkyWell also has to make it home. Now it looks like bottom lane's just switching around. Of course, Tainted Minds with the option of heading towards the Dragon potentially as Choose. That old 1-2-3 punch on the Omni.
The 30-second Thunderlord proc that Choose will do pretty much on rotation every single time. Place the W in range for an attack, hit the Q, auto once more.
But Omni been doing fine as far as minion score is concerned. Nothing doing here, and exactly what you said, you know, diffusal lane, being able to just farm this one up, and now teams moving towards the opposite outer turrets. Legacy have managed to get themselves a little bit of extra gold out of the situation.
They have, but they're going to be slower to getting here. Carbon not to be seen, Zahi actually hitting means that time taken on this turret could actually spell the start of the undoing for Legacy, at least in this lane swap in terms of efficiency. May only be 4 CS and a slight gold lead, but watch how quickly that turns around.
Yeah, you can see the Dragon is actually going to be started up, so a little bit of a tempo sacrifice in order to grab themselves an Ocean Drake very early on here, but Ocean Drake pretty damn good for a team that wants to be trying to pick you off, staying at high health, and especially for Zahi on that Elise, wants to be able to boot Carbon out of his jungle.
Yeah, absolutely. Tainted Minds, as far as early rotations go, you have to commend them on their map movement. Still around the same time as Legacy now, all things considered, with a free Dragon in their back pocket. A lot of the time when you see people lane swap, Minky's not getting this.
Oh, there's the heal as Kuden almost dies to the turret.
He is lucky that Kuden did tank that. I don't think Minky would have lived. And remember the shield on top of it.
It was definitely looking a bit scary there for a moment, but we know Minky does like to fight with death.
He flirts with danger a fair bit. I think the point still stands, however, when you look at teams doing lane swaps and what they're going to achieve from it. If someone stops to do the Drake, then it actually loses you about 10 CS in each role or in the particular farming roles that they select. This time around, because they had an advantage in speed and pace that they were taking these turrets down, the Drake was essentially just to even out the difference between them with one free objective.
And I actually like what Omni did just there with this Chaos Storm. Make sure he equalizes the wave. We'll possibly be able to pick this one up as it crashes into his turret. Did look amusing though, you know, just dropping it on
I'll
the
give you another fun fact then. He ghosted to lane.
Did he really?
Yep.
Whoa.
It's got a very low cooldown. It scales quite well now, and it gets you to lane reasonably effectively. It will be a summon a spurn, but it's the same thing as a teleport, right?
Yeah, and
instead of
exactly
teleporting, he popped his ultimate down, which is a designed ultimate, honestly, for wave control for a lot of Victor players. You throw it down, you recall, or you like bully them out to half health so they can't use teleport as an example. So I like the movement from Omni. It was very cheeky, but it pays off.
Yeah, and Tainted Minds now Praetor starting off that Rift Herald, but Ward goes over the wall. They already had Scuttle Crab control on the side of Legacy, so nothing doing. Not going to be able to grab that objective. Give Praetor a bit of that split pushing advantage. And Minky just seems to be having a fantastic time. Now off about 8 CS, he's got a wave to himself there towards the bottom side of the map. Control now going to have to overextend if he wants to answer that farm.
Yeah, they're hiding him quite well at the moment, Minky. There's no real way for Praetor to get in there and farm unless Minky starts pushing, which he is. So Praetor will get his farm on Trundle and things might even out and catch back up. We'll see how he plays it. Tainted Minds are now starting to work themselves towards a standard variety of laning phase.
Yeah, you can see Carbon wanted to try and grab himself that blue buff.
Except a Carbon stalking. You can see one member. He knows that Zahi is nearby and he's looking for the third. There it is. He has vision over it on everyone. English language.
The little sploochies. King now able to push this wave up, means that Lost might be able to actually grab some farm here in this lane. 64 to 44, that is huge for King. Currently just happily stacking up that tier.
It is a tier though, so whilst he is happy, and that is where he should be, well-deserving happiness, Lost is, in a way, a little bit stronger, except for the 3 levels that actually separate them, which is unreasonably large. And that's why Lost is being careful.
I was pretty confused, honestly, as well. Like, how did that even happen?
So Rosie's been taking a lot of shared experience, where King has been soloing a fair bit of it. You can see level 3 Karma, whereas Lost and Rosie are 4 and 5.
It does make a bit of sense. Of course, Stranglethorn's pretty important. Do you think it'll be worth it here, putting the Sivers behind?
Putting the Sivir behind? Yeah, it'll be reasonably worth as long as I get to 6.
Nice cocoon comes out here from Zahi. Minkuel already at half health as a pillar is greatly placed. Minkuel once again going to get stunned down as he's trying to get it, but he's not able to. First blood comes down as Praetor picks that one up. Carbon wants to get revenge for his top lane, but Rosie here just in time. There's the True Shot Barrage flash from Carbon, and he answers the kill. And the Grasping Root's just not quite enough there from Rosie.
And well done from King to hit the ultimate. Picks up a pickaxe and does an abundance of damage, honestly, to Zahi.
That was huge.
I like what Minky did. He knew that he was going to die to that gank, and he actually wanted to kill the Elise, but the repel was timed quite well as Carbon walked into a wall with his tunnel. The fact that the repel was timed well, though, from Zahi means that he had to change his attention to Praetor, and that's where Minky went wrong. Thankfully, everyone else from Legacy's here to back him up.
You can see Rosie now trying to get to that level 6 mark, just clearing out minions underneath this turret as Praetor makes his way in. Only level 5 here for the Troll. Was thankfully able to take down Minkuel there, so almost has that Ravenous Hydra completed as there's the True Shot Barrage. Oh, that is satisfying.
Almost picks up 2, honestly. It was that close to Praetor.
Backing there was a bit of a weird decision out of Zahi though.
It's laziness. So the OPL players, you know, they won't make the same mistake twice. Or as often. Twice. No, I won't make it twice. Let's go with it.
You can see Trundle actually hanging out towards the bottom side of the map. We'll head back to base. Minkuel picks up another wave of farm, 65 to 35. That is massive. As Minky just more than happy to build towards that Trinity Force.
And Praetor is a carry player.
Yeah.
So putting him behind in farm whilst he has the kill is not going to be too handy for the split push-up.
As Omni wins that trade. Nice double tap on the Death Ray.
Choose really wants the recall.
Damn right he does.
Rosie's also hanging around on the side. You know, if Choose was to actually look for a fight there, could have been really bad for him.
Yeah, Minkuel got a nice freeze here towards the top side of the map. You can see Praetor relegated to clearing out the jungle. Zahi now waiting for Carbon. He's standing very still. Nice cocoon. And there's the boomerang as well. Carbon taking a lot of damage. Pretty tanky already, though.
He is indeed. He 2 levels above Zahi. Pretty much across the board for Legacy, they're finding slight advantages everywhere. The CS discrepancy between junglers stands out like a sore thumb. Carbon has been power farming. Elise has been trying to gank and it hasn't been working out.
You can see Tainted Minds trying to get some damage down onto this turret. Do manage to take off about 1/3 of its health bar, but Carbon is able to get over there with the Void Rush. Rosie now getting in position, trying to get this vision down. Yeah, exactly. Mountain Drake is spawning right now. Carbon well and truly in position to sense everybody's tremors.
And a big wave's about to crash bottom, so Sivir will be there at the very least. They may look towards it, yeah.
And look at all the vision here for Legacy. They know exactly where Tainted Minds are, can just start this up. Complete safety. for this team.
And as far as decision-making goes, to even look at starting up the Drake is a very clever idea. They could have sent perhaps 4 people to the middle lane, look for a gank instead, if Tainted Minds were to contest. But because they made Lost choose between, hey, do you want to get the 15 to 20 CS that I've just pushed to your turret, or do you want to fight for the Mountain Drake, it would have been essentially a win-win.
Yeah.
And the big problem still stands in that top lane. I don't think I've seen Praetor get a single CS until now.
Yeah, I think you got a Grom.
The freeze just broke. Just broke.
We can see Omni now with a couple of levels in that Hex core. Now with some movement speed after that Q. Definitely a good news story, but sort of what it's equated to is Lost picking up a little bit more farm. Wanting to build towards that Essence Reaver. Grab himself that 3 out of the spike as quickly as possible. But is it too much? Let's choose. Steals himself a blue buff. Complete ease as well. Legacy just starting to suffocate Tainted Minds.
That's because they're playing towards Minky Whale now on the top side of the map, and he is very big. So they can work around him. The blue buff steal is well timed for Choose also. Not only does he have power in the laning phase, it just goes without saying, you have blue buff, you have control because you can expend more mana. He'll have his next one up on his side of the map in a minute as well.
Rosie wants to hit that level 6 if he can. See whether he can actually get it off this big wave of creeps. Praetor using that Tiamat. They would have cleared this one out quite effectively, actually.
But they're pulling them around the map, and it's subtle, but it's clever from Legacy. I'm not sure how much of this is intentional, because it just feels genius.
Yeah.
They walk topside where the big stack of minions is. They force Praetor to share farm.
Yeah, and that Chaos Storm actually not able to do anything there as True Shot Barrage not going to find Rosie, who takes the majority of his health bar from poke damage. Zahi now moving towards his red buff. He'll be able to at least secure that one. But Legacy just easily picking up turrets across this map. They're now 1 ahead. That whole outer ring down.
Getting close to 3,000 gold, and it's only 1-1.
Yeah. It's just more farm values. I mean, look, double the CS now for Minky at 111 to 53. That's after a lane swap as well. I mean, he's just done fantastically well.
But again, that comes down to the team decision. We send 4 people to the top lane when the wave is about to crash on the turret. That's Praetor's wave that he was waiting to pick up for a long time. This is the second time it's happened. By sending 4 people there, Tainted Minds have to respond in kind. So they send 4 to the top lane. Praetor doesn't get all of the farm, he doesn't catch up, and then Legacy pull them from that lane once the minions are cleared to mid, get a turret with it, and still get the CS advantage on their top lane and to boot because he just walks away. It's really clever.
Yeah. Well, Tainted Minds now looking to try and take down this Rift Herald. 15 minutes into this game, Praetor definitely wants to be able to grab that one. As you can see, Void Rush used by Carbon gets him to the bottom side of the map. We're going to try and grab what they can, at least clear out some vision, as they will. Praetor now see whether he can utilize his Void buff.
And the balance is tipping at the moment. Tainted Minds have seen Carbon on the bottom side of the map. They've just cleared 2. Well, 1 pink ward out, 1 still stands. That means the attention of them can be on this top side. Minky does not know that there's 3 of them. And he's still going to be cautious. He does now. Just ult at Minky.
Yeah.
Give it the R button.
Well, Choose is going to make his way in as well.
Stole your farm, Minky.
He's a team player, you know, Minky well.
Also maxing the stun.
Equilibrium strike
instead of the W for the sustain and true damage. Which means he's looking potentially to just team fight with the Trinity Force spike. It's a very curious decision from Minky.
Stuck in his ways, potentially.
No, I think there's, like we had this conversation today even on Twitter, there was a stylistic difference between what people want to max.
Yep.
Huni, as an example, actually puts 3 levels, I think it is, in his W and then maxes the stun. Minky's just gone all in, so at level 9 he had 5 points in the stun. And the LPL standard is 5 points in the W.
Yep.
It just seems to be that everyone changes their style depending on what they need or what they want to do personally. Versatile champion.
Well, you can see he's freely just pushing towards the top side. Meanwhile, on the bottom side of the map, Carbon making his way towards King, where they're looking to actually pressure down this inner turret. Nice shield, gives that minion a little bit of extra life. Lost will be able to make it here in time. Almost has that Essence Reaver built up, so has a lot of flat AD for now. Praetor, nice chomp on the Minky Whale there. As you're right, Praetor gets stunned for a heck of a lot of time. There's the Subjugate. Minky Whale does have to be a little bit careful. Transcendent Blades doing some work, but he's able to Blade Surge his way out to safety.
And the stun didn't stun from Minky the second time around. Doesn't have enough true damage. And I'm not going to lie to you, whilst the stun went for a while, I think WMax would have done a little bit more there. The end result is still that Minky is close to being able to fight Praetors, but you would imagine, as far as the 1v1 is concerned, he's starting to tip the balance in his favor here, Praetor.
Yeah, of course, does have that lifesteal as well with that Ravenous Hydra already completed, so going to be feeling very healthy, already back to full health now as well. Multiple backs now coming in as Minky heads back top. Now with some Ninja Tabis in his back pocket.
Legacy definitely putting their attention towards the next Drake.
Yeah.
Being that it is an Infernal.
Yeah, 30 seconds until that one is up. Mountain, then Infernal. The dream. No Cloud Drakes this game. Yeah, and if we include the Ocean Drake as well, not sure what you get.
Those three together are definitely Hot Springs. Like
Hot Springs?
Has to be
you reckon that's Hot Springs?
Like in mountains? You know those monkeys that sit in the springs in the mountains? I don't know what they're called.
Wow, I don't know why there are monkeys there, but I do know exactly which ones you're talking about.
Yeah.
King. Oh, he's not going to find the Mystic Shot as Zahi lands a nice cocoon on a Carbon, but Carbon just does not care, like flat out. As King just flashes over the top. Rosie, he's going to get taken down. Stranglethorn's there doing a lot of work, though, with those plants. You can see Minky now jumping on top of Lost. He can't go anywhere as Carbon picks up that kill easily. Zahi has to flash away. Lost actually died with both of his summoners up. Wasn't expecting the damage, and neither was Zahi, as Choo Choos is able to pick up that kill as well. Just exploding in action, our Legacy.
Yeah, Zyra is a squishy champion, so you have to remember, ever caught out of position can die. And speaking of caught out of position, never mind. He flashed it.
Yeah, so Chaos Storm, the relative naught at the moment. This Carbon is going to be able to take down this Infernal Drake. So Infernal and Mountain for Legacy, and only an Ocean Drake here for Tainted Minds. As definitely a dragon they were looking to contest, but Legacy finding the engage.
And good decisions across the board from Legacy here, looking for the fight at all. Zyra has always suffered from the exact same problem, in that you are so fragile, you will just die if someone looks at you funny and you just decide you don't like living anymore. Under-leveled as well, Rosie, level 6, which is something that happens to you as a support, means that your base stats are lacking. Just generally susceptible to death consistently when you're moving around. The damage was huge out of Rosie, even in death. Note that it actually took King's heal from him while the plants were attacking him throughout that. He had to flash away, almost, and heals instead.
I mean, King doing his normal King things. Arcane shifting over a wall into 3 people. Definitely worked out for him, though, as Carbon is just so incredibly tanky. 40 CS in the lead, 2-0-2. Cinderhulk, now that Spectre's Cow completed as well. I mean, it's just going to be a movable.
Yeah. And the Rek'Sai's the real game changer here. Tainted Minds on the flip side, they've got themselves the Elise that isn't going to be tanky. Even with that Rylai's completed, if the enemy team is ahead, there are actual tank stats to be seen on Carbon, not just health values. So they are running into a lot of trouble. It's the kind of game that they've drafted themselves into, they must have a winning situation. If they don't have that winning situation, they could get scaled out.
Oh, another Equilibrium Strike comes in here as Legacy 4 members towards the top side. Nice big heal. I mean, shield comes out from Kuden. He's able to keep himself up though, so definitely good news. Not out of it just yet, Tainted Minds, but they're slowly falling further and further behind.
And this is a similar principle to last time where they drag them around the map. Choo Choos is having a good time at the moment in mid lane against Omni, especially in this 1v1 when you can set your own turret up and still poke him out. It's the blue buff advantage that Omni hasn't seen all game.
Yeah.
Just happens to, like, if you're a mid laner, you understand how devastating it is to never get one and watch your enemy have one. And he knows he's safe because Legacy are rotating between top and mid, between Choo Choos and Minky Whale, where they are strong.
And look at this as well. I mean, 22 minutes into the game, there is no way that Tainted Minds are looking at a Baron buff without some sort of scrying orb. Like, there is no other way. There is so much vision available for Legacy.
They pick and choose their battles at the moment, and ultimately, if Legacy are going to lose this game, it has to be a fantastic play from the Tainted Minds roster or a mistake in execution from Legacy. And that has happened. If you look at the AV series, they recently lost. Mistakes do come out of this Legacy team.
Yeah, and it came down to one team fight towards the end of the game, really, that AV were able to turn it in very late stages of the first match. Tainted Minds understand that there is still a way to win. But I mean, MinkeyWell is completely set up for success. Choo Choo's is massive. Rylai's and the Nash's Tooth already completed. King's hit his power spike. Muramana as well as the Iceborne Gauntlet, now building casually towards that Blade of the Ruined King.
And this is Tainted Minds' biggest way into this game to find victory. It's through Praedyth, and because Minky can defuse that, look at the farm values between them still. It's absurd.
Yeah.
Really, they're not getting past the middle point of the map.
Look at this Baron damage as well, as Choose is ripping it apart. King just takes it with a casual Mystic shot, as if he doesn't even mind.
Yeah, pretty simple.
Yeah, they are just all over this game.
Yeah, they are massively in control. Choose has been watching his mid-beast videos. He did that Azir. Across the wall. No, very impressively done here by Legacy to get themselves a cheeky and easy Baron. No response available from Tainted Minds. You mentioned only Scrying Orbs can see it.
Well, there's the flash actually from Omni. Lost is going to flash over as well, taking so much damage, but is able to lock down the kill. Carbon now has to deal with the Chaos Storm as Lost gets flashed on. King just explodes him. What are you, a burst mage? That was ridiculous. But it's a 1-for-1. Choo Choo's is going to fall, but does have his teleport for those 30 seconds when he does come back up. Center turret still under fire. But Tainted Minds, I mean, they do need to make plays like that. They get rid of one of the Baron buffs.
But the Sivir flashing an Azir wall is not exactly the optimal play. Carbon is just a tank.
Yeah, just trying to zone them away. Does so effectively, gives them enough room to take down this turret. Baron buff helping them out the whole time. Tainted Minds watch another structure fall.
And just like that, the gold lead continues to grow. Legacy are in complete power around this map. They set themselves up nicely with vision every single time. It's a patient game, but they are pulling the trigger on these major decisions quite effectively.
Yeah, well, we got a tweet in here from Dave Varello. I'm just not going to try and pronounce names. The one time a Cloud Drake isn't the first spawn has to be during a competition. Sad face.
Can you say it again?
No.
Dave Varello.
Jason Derulo. Wait, what? I should have just gone with wait what, because I think that's better.
And he's right. The first one was the Ocean Drake. And everybody, I believe, the favorites said that 4 clouds were going to be seen.
The dream.
As it's statistically the most seen Drake.
I just love seeing people having fun on Azir. Choose is definitely one to do it as often as possible as well. The man loves shifting some sands.
Yeah, he does. Plays a fair bit of Azir. Especially when Victor's taken from him, he has to prove a point.
Sand drifting. As Tainted Minds now looking to collapse onto MinkeyWell. Subjugate already out here as he does Blade Surge and Flash, but that's going to be all the maneuverability that he has gone. The flash from Praedyth as well does lock down the kill, but the turret's going to fall on the bottom side of the map. Legacy making use of this pressure. As there it is. True Shot Barrage stops Lost. 2 are going to be able to go back as Lost once again going to start this one up, but that turret fell so quickly. And this inhibitor is also going to fall down. Chaos Storm onto King. Can't finish off the inhibitor. There it is. Closes the gap. Oh my god. Able to run just fast enough. Perfect Hex Core completed, but it wasn't enough out of Omni to speed up that Circle of Death.
King wants that inhibitor. He has life still, but it's not a crazy amount. And chooses taking the farm. Doesn't want health anyway. They still want to push with this. They have the Baron buff. It's not going to take many hits to get the inhibitor down.
No, certainly won't. As Praedyth is still trying to create distance. Omni taking some poke damage. That inhibitor is not long for the world as King Arcane shifts his way back. Probably the first time we've seen him do that, almost all split.
And once again, good decision from Legacy. They know that they can push their luck and get themselves the inhibitor. So they stick around, utilize the Baron buff further, and they cement themselves the first big inhibitor take of the game. Can now look towards the next objective of the Drake. Should be a valuable one for them.
Yeah, and it honestly just looks like a macro schooling here from Legacy. A team that looked out of sorts last week, and at the moment, just looking like a well-oiled machine. Much like after their, dominant first split.
I can't speak for Legacy, but I can tell you that having MinkeyWell on the team, if we look back at the old iterations of this team, lane swapping was the biggest part of the meta when Minky was on the roster. So right now, coming back into the team.
He's, of course, the team's coach as well for a lot of purposes.
Yeah, may help them out a lot here.
Able to secure himself a dragon there, as the third one's going to be a Mountain Drake. My god, Legacy swimming in pretty good dragons right now. Adding a bit more dirt to the hot spring.
It's like that city from Pokemon. I keep forgetting what it's called. What is this, Lava Town? Lavender Town? No.
Cinnabar?
Yeah.
Island?
Yeah. No.
No?
No.
Or which generation are we talking, Rusty?
Nah, I've lost it. I'll look it up after.
Oh, wait, hang on. Yeah, no, I know the one you're talking about. The third gen. Yeah, it's like Lava Ridge.
Yeah, that's it.
Nailed it. It's where you get yourself that egg.
The hot springs.
Yeah, and it's like, and there's like an egg in there, and it's cool. Nice. That's a tangent. Tainted Minds are going to now head back to base. Try and get themselves what items they can, as the Sun Turret is going to help Choo Choo's clear out this wave. King there as well, trying to pick up what he can. He's got a gigantic CS lead. I mean, the story of this game is the fact that mid has been relatively close. Everywhere else, a country mile for Legacy.
Giant farm values, and honestly, those farm values are through map movements, which is the bigger part of this game, right? All they needed in the middle lane was for Omni to defuse. But the difference between the junglers is pretty great, and decision-making around the map has actually separated these teams. It's not even at an individual level that Legacy are beating them. Though it may look like it, it's been absolutely decisions they've made to get from A to B.
Yeah, Minky-Well once again going to find Praetor, who is going to be able to fight back here against Minky-Well, especially with that Touch of the Void buff. However, in the mid lane, it's a very different story. Azahi able to get up into the sky, but doesn't have that escape now anymore. Already down to half health as Carbon just tanking up for his team, not caring about this damage flying around. Going towards Titanic Hydra as item number 3, and that inner turret did not last long. And look, here's the wave we prepared earlier.
Yeah, Minky-Well setting that one up. They shouldn't actually be able to push with it too hard. There's still going to be close distances between mid and top now that they're stuck inside their base. Legacy are going to have a harder time breaching these walls in particular. All of the outers are now gone, but because the bottom lane inhibitor has been taken down, it's effectively the Baron inhibitor, as it's the furthest distance away. The minions cause the biggest issue, so Praetor has to be down there. Legacy can look to force a teleport from him. Choose to commit, choose not to commit. They've got options.
Yeah, and they're more than happy to fight as well, because
this is
they're
one of
11k
them.
ahead. Yeah, Omni in a whole host of trouble. Chaos Storm comes out, but it's just not doing enough here to Choo Choo's, who's just walking through it. Nice Death Ray comes in, but not going to get the double tap as King just arcane shifts himself into the fray, picks himself up the kill. And Choo Choo says, you could have been a bit earlier than that, I was getting worried.
And the one step ahead is that Choose has teleport, so he can go back to base, he can come here to the Baron pit as it spawns, which is right now. And the power play is available to this Legacy team. I think they want to fight, though, more than they want to just fight for an objective that could potentially be stolen. It's a needless risk, so either make sure it's free or kill them instead.
Yeah, and Minky-Well was just hurting them as well, making sure that Tainted Minds had to either get out of their jungle or try and fight them for this Baron. And there's full vision here for Tainted Minds, but Legacy are just so confident, and Tainted Minds cannot go near this.
Nope. Once again, to be a 4v5, and the carries of Legacy are far too large.
Now moving towards that mid lane here as well. You can see, I mean, a few of those creeps are going to get eaten up by Lost. It is Infernal Drake, the next one. Going to be spawning in about 4 or so minutes. Kratos now trying to get back up to relevance, but at the moment it feels like a story that's a little bit too little too late. Minky-Well back on the split push now with some buff-ass minions.
And with this power play, the only problem that actually remains for them when it comes to potentially closing this game out is the lack of teleports they have. But what we said was potentially the curse of Legacy, how close top and mid are. Could also be a blessing for them, given that they don't have those teleports. However, the bottom lane is still going to be something that they might want to take, as it is a freestanding objective with no turret defending it.
Yeah, it can just pile in there as well. We'll see whether they do it with a 4-man unit. That's
King's in
a
trouble.
really nice snare. Yeah, King actually forced to use the flash. Zahi has to get right up into the sky as quickly as possible. Omni gets divided out of the team. As you can see, Carbon flashing forward. They pick up the Elise immediately as Praetor underneath this turret doing some work, but King's able to take down the Sivir. That's a lot of damage now removed. Omni, though, thankfully still there with a lot of wave clear, and there are low health bars now on Legacy after Carbon's fallen.
Looks like it's in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. Gravity Field comes down. King unstoppable now as Praetor against the world under the turret. It's not enough. Rosie just respawning and now has to watch his base fall apart.
At the very least, 2 inhibitors will now be taken. The health values of Legacy aren't high, but the Baron buff should be enough to get them the rest of this game out. And for game 1 in a series like this, coming back off a loss, that's very impressive from Legacy.
Yeah, as far as rebuilding momentum, this is huge. Nexus is going to fall 32 minutes, and Legacy close out an incredibly dominant game number 1.
Actually slammed the door shut, honestly, on the Tainted Minds roster. It does seem to come in waves with this Legacy side. One week they're struggling with their macro play. The next week it looks pretty good, and they show a hint of finesse in the early game to get themselves a big enough lead. The rest of it really didn't matter.
Yeah, and we have to remember that a lot of these questions are raised because Legacy are playing a little bit hamstrung. They don't have Tally, of course, their mechanical powerhouse there towards the top side of the map. But Minky on the Aurelia as well. I mean, we know him as a bit of a tank player, especially recently, but really, really looked good.
He still got caught out of position a couple of times, but all around Legacy looked good as well.
They most certainly did. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to throw it back to the analyst desk to break down the first Legacy win.
Thanks so much, Atlas, in pretty clean fashion. It was a Legacy victory against Tainted Minds. However, let's talk about the start of the game a little bit. Gutsy call out of Tainted Minds. New kids on the block playing with a brand new top laner. Throw Legacy into a lane swap and actually had tempo advantage for a lot of that early game, Simon.
Yeah, they did. So basically you can tell that like Praedyth is relatively new at lane swapping because there was something that he did early on where he didn't allow on the first turret push, he didn't allow the wave to bounce back and then like generate a Frisian push against them. So what that meant was that they were able to eventually, like Minky was able to get a CS advantage on him. And then in the bot side, instead of going for like the double turret push when they had the advantage because they brought Zahi down as well, they decided to go for the Ocean Drake. And then what that meant eventually was that they had to break 2 freezes on opposite ends of the map and they couldn't do it. And then there was the Rift Herald play.
And then disaster struck. So yeah, so if we followed that, they are a little bit slow on the first tower. They kind of fumble the bottom tower because they could have pushed through. They had the Elise there for them. They then go and try to set up the Rift Herald. You know, this idea, we're going to give it to Trundle. He's going to be a split-pushing monster. But it just takes them forever. They have to reset it. Legacy walk over. They lose all of their momentum, all of their time. And meanwhile, Minky now has about double the CS.
Yeah, and I guess it was really interesting because there was a certain part of that game where Minky was up 20 CS, King was up 20 CS, mid lane was pretty much even, and Carbon was up 2 levels just because of the fact you've been able to farm the jungle. So, you know, a decent effort out of Tainted Minds, but Legacy obviously able to punish them. Want to go towards what you said, you know, that King and Kuden maybe being a little bit undervalued in what is this 2v2, because King had a pretty good game there. He was up 2 full items in the end, was able to take it to loss and actually played nice and aggressively.
I mean, yeah, he was able to take it to loss, but it didn't really matter at that point because they had accumulated such an advantage across the board that like he had an 80 CS advantage at the end. All the global gold and everything, the dragon buffs, etc. I also don't agree with the Ezreal pick as well.
Yeah, no, go for it. Have your rant about Ezreal if you want.
So like Ezreal's fine for like if you're going for like more damage source or anything like that in the current meta in like with the marksman picks, but I think Ashe would have been a lot better there, like a lot better there, just simply because like Legacy took so long to close the game when they had such an advantage because they lacked engage, and Ashe would have just given that to them.
No, yeah, I completely agree. Ezreal, no, I can't. Can't go on that anymore.
All right. I want to actually have a look at the other composition because I actually thought Tainted Minds' composition for what they wanted to achieve was quite smart. I mean, they have Zyra for neutral taking. They obviously had prioritized Dragon and Rift Herald early. Yep. They had everything going their way. Is that something that they can just look to repeat now going into game number 2 and, you know, clean up execution? Or do you think they have to swing the draft?
I think, okay, so the draft was okay. Like, it did come down a lot to the top laners, and you can see how, like, Legacy play with Tally because they gave a lot of resources to Minky as well. That's kind of just their style. With Tainted Minds, I think the draft was actually not bad. I think a little bit too heavy on the wave clear side, and I think that they could have gone for more of an investment into like a hyper carry with their AD carry with Lost if they were going to like focus more resources onto him. But with the Elise Spiderlings and like the Zyra plants and everything, like they had a very good idea about like how to take objectives and like neutrals rather, and like juggling all of that. I just think it was a fail execution.
All right, well, with failed executions in game 1, it means that Tainted Mind unable to get the victory. Don't go anywhere, guys. In a couple of minutes, we're going to be back with game 2 with Legacy versus Tainted Minds.